maybe I should probably right here. All right.
Okay.
First, just say your name and spell it for me on camera.
Sure. My name is Francis Buk, Francis Buk.
Okay. And I want to just start off by just telling me, like, really quickly, like the brief, um, just where are you from and where did you end up in Sudan and how is it that you're here?
Well, I'm originally from Sudan, and I came to the United States in 1999 as a refugee. And in 2000, I ended up in Boston working with anti-slavery group here in Boston. And currently, I live here in Boston.
And before you came, as your refugee status, obviously you were, trying to escape something. What is it that you were escaping? Just tell me a little bit about.
Well, my actual story is I was ex-slave. I was captured from May 7 to 17 in 1986 in my former country, Sudan, particularly southern Sudan. And I was taken to northern Sudan to work as slave for 10 years. I tried to escape multiple times, and I failed my first attempt. And eventually, I was lucky enough to make my the third attempt to make my way to Khartoum, the capital city of Sudan, and been lucky enough again to make my way to Cairo, Egypt, where I got my refugee status to the United States of America.
Okay. And I wanted to ask you, how do you feel working for the AASG? Like, what's your inspiration for sometimes putting your life in danger? Because I read your book, and sometimes, when you go to speak about slavery, you're not always, welcomed with open arms.
Yes.
What's your motivation for really kind of dedicating your life after slavery to slavery?
Well, there's many I can say about that, but I would say one thing. One thing is to appreciate my freedom and appreciate all the things that I overcome to be in this greatest country, United States. Because a few years way back, when I was still in captivity, I used to lie awake at night and wonder who's going to come and free me. And today, even as we're sitting here in freedom and comfort, there are millions of people around the world, and that includes my people in Sudan, are still held in bondage. And that's why I was motivated when I heard about American anti-slavery group back in 2000, when Dr. Charles Jacobs asked me to move to Boston and work with them. And I joined them. And I like what they are doing, and I like what I'm doing now with them too, because this is a great city. I learned that Boston is a center of abolitionists, and I'm very grateful that I live in Boston and being a young abolitionist to fight for others. So I enjoy the work, and I'm saying that it's not because it's a fun thing to do. It is absolutely risky, as you just said. I had people threaten me a couple of times when I give talks at the American public schools, and I never ever listened to them to quit my job and just say it's not happening to me anymore. This issue should be everyone's business. I know I'm not in slavery anymore, and I'm not in Sudan or in Africa in general. I'm in the US, the wealthy country, and I shouldn't have risked my life, yes, to do all this kind of thing I do, but again, I can't live my life, as an happy man and lucky man and forget those who are still in position that I used to be.
What do you think when you go to speak and people who aren't even from the Sudan, because I can understand why some people from the Sudan, like the Arabs, might say, oh, there's no slavery. But what do you think when people here in the U.S. who have witnessed, a history of slavery and really know about our legacy here, and deny it? What do you think, the motivations are for those types of people?
Well, for the Sudanese government, two things. For the Sudanese government, I think the Sudanese government cannot say yes, it is happening in our country, because they are the one who kill men and taking women and children to slavery. And they cannot accept their guilt by accepting that there is genocide in Sudan or there is slavery in Sudan. And thus they have a right to insist by saying, no, it's not happening. For the US, I know a few years ago, a lot of American people were unaware of what happened in Sudan. Maybe State Department knew what was going on in Sudan, maybe UN news. Of course they know, but they didn't really act. But today, we inspired a lot of people. Since I joined the organization, I have spoken to dozens, high school and colleges and universities across America, and also among the faith communities in the US, the Jewish synagogues and Christian churches, because we need to make them aware slavery is not history. We need to make them aware that slavery is still alive, even though many of whom here believe that slavery ended in 1865 in the United States. I always told them my account of being enslaved for 10 years, that if you invited me in 1996, I can come and talk to you, because that time I was still struggling to get away. So there's a lot of ignorance, you know, and that to do with, because in America, as I said, America is a total different country, you know, and people don't sometimes differentiate Africa. When they say Africa, they mean Africa is a country, but they don't know within Africa there's many other continents, you know, and some people do not know where Sudan even. And of course, also, this is the black issue, you know, and I think that's one of the key problems too, why American people are not acting, because if this were like what was going on in South Africa, you know, they would have acted, or what was going on in Kosovo, you know, they would have acted, but they're allowing this because this conflict in my country is really involved in many things. It's a religion conflicts, and racism conflict, and economic conflict, and that's why a lot of people shy away from acting, you know, and we hope that they will understand, you know, not to abandon us, you know, because ultimately this is about human potentials, about potential for those enslaved to be that all they can be, to go to school, to be with their parents, and to even contribute to this society. There's also potential for us, you know, to do whatever we can do to help them. And that's why someone like me and American anti-slavery groups and those who are inspired, you know, are really risking their life to speak out.
Give me 1 second.
Sure.
I'm just going to adjust the shot.
I tried calling. I got your message. I tried calling her.
I'll try to be quick because I know it's warm out here.
No, you take your time.
What else? Did you have to overcome any personal, you know, struggles, I guess? Because I read your book, and I know there was a time you were living in, was it Arizona, or you were living
No, Fargo, North Dakota.
You were living in North Dakota.
And I also live in Iowa.
In Iowa. And while you were there, you made yourself quite comfortable, you know? And, you know, tell me a little bit, like, you know, how comfortable you were and what kind of, you know, was there any personal conflicts? Like, I could stay here and be comfortable and drive a car and wear all these new clothes, and, or I could move to Boston and kind of be kind of an activist, and it's not as glamorous.
Yes, I could say first when I resettled to Fargo, North Dakota in 1999, that time I was having difficulties because I don't speak the language when I first come here. Number two, I was isolated, and I've been alone for 10 years back in Sudan when I were in slavery. You know, and I didn't really like Fargo, and I didn't really like to be alone again. I was seeking to move closer to the people that I could communicate with them. You know, and that's why I decided in January 1st, 2000 to move to Ames, Iowa, where I stayed with other family that I knew back in Egypt, in Cairo. And I was really happy that time. I was working 2 jobs, you know, night and day, just to save up some money. And I was also having big plans. I was trying to go to school when I have enough money to pay for my school. So when Charles Jacobs, who is the president and co-founder of the American Anti-Slavery Group, contacted me, back in 2000, in May, I believe, asking that I should come to Boston and join them. I actually insist. I said, no, I'm not moving anywhere. My life is okay here, and I don't want also to remember the past, what I've gone through, you know, and what's still gone in my country. I just want to forgive myself and forgive what happened and establish new life in this greatest country. But Charles really didn't give up. He kept trying until I finally agreed with him and moved to Boston. So there's a lot of things changing in my life today, you know. Today I could say that there's nothing I see missing. I know I haven't yet finished my studies, you know. I want to try to go to school. It's something that I need to do in the future. It's a first priority for me to do, you know, and I believe in myself that one day I will, you know, and I have a wonderful life, but again, inside me is still a different person, you know. I'm still living with this memory because I lose my family, they are not alive, and I'm not going to reunite with them again. And also I know there are a lot of people who are still in pain that I used to be for 10 years. Many, in my country and around the world, 27 million people. And that's why sometimes, you know, I say my freedom is worth nothing. Because what is good with my freedom if my people are still dying? What is good with my freedom if millions of people are still enslaved? You know, and as you can see today in Sudan, there's another genocide in the Western Sudan, in Darfur region, where our brothers and sisters are dying a week. 1,000 people die a week. And you can imagine, you know, being in this great country, you know, and try to ignore that because it's happening in Africa, it's happening in Sudan. I cannot, a person like me cannot really ignore it, because that's why I'm fighting on behalf of all Sudanese people, the West Sudanese and Southern Sudanese, as well as 27 million people.
Wow. And I think the last question I had, a bee.
Bucks.
Do you see yourself ever returning home? I know you said that, you know, your family is virtually gone, but do you now feel that the U.S. is home, or do you still feel that connection to Sudan?
Well, I really been having a dream of going back to Sudan, particularly where I was born, in my town in Awil, in southern Sudan. I want to go back. I know my family are not alive, but maybe I have some other relatives alive. And not only that, not only my closest family, you know, relatives, but I want to really go back there to help those who might need my help, you know, in southern Sudan. So I don't know when I will go back, you know, but maybe when I get my citizenship in America, I will go back to revisit Sudan. I know this country is my second country. I think people of this country, I think, you know, America is the greatest country. It's a country who will actually give opportunity to everybody, you know, and I thank them for giving us second chance at life to live our dream again. My people and many other immigrants who come, you know, with nothing and being something in this country, and I really thank them. And I hope that one day, when we have stability in our country, we will invite people of this country to see our land also. That's how we're going to return their great kindness, you know. But I'm happy now, but I'm not happy that my people are still dying in Darfur. My people are still dying in southern Sudan, and million people in addition are still dying also in somewhere else, like India, Burma, and Brazil. You know, those places that slavery is still existing.
Tell me really quickly about the book, because I know that I told you over the phone I was working with Greater Boston, and we had you in, and after the show I was given a book, and it really, like, that was the whole inspiration for me even doing this project. Tell me how you came about writing this book, and tell me, you know, if your intention was to touch lives or it was just to tell your story.
Well, the motivations, you know, I should say that the motivation why I written that book is because I have spoken to many kids in all different levels, from middle school, I mean elementary school, to middle schools, and high school and colleges across America, including North America. And I always say, this is not going to help, because every group that I talk to, they always tell me they have no idea slavery is still going on. And that's really shocked me and surprised me a lot, You know, and I said, you know, if these people say here it's not hot, they don't know. Maybe some other people in different country have the same, you know, vision, you know. And that's the time I decided to write the book, because I know this book is not going to speak only to the individuals, but you're going to reach a lot of other people in the different countries. And that's the reason I wrote the book, you know, and I hope that this book will spread the word out about slavery, not only in Sudan, but globally, you know, around the world. And I know we already made a big impact. That book already made a big impact. You know, we pushed the U.S. government, you know, as I, you know, try my best to even meet with some of the U.S. development, you know, meeting with include leader like President Bush, Condoleezza Rice, and Colin Powell, and, you know, a lot of others, you know, who really inspired me, who also has promised us, and I hope that they will continue to help my people, you know, and bring the peace in Sudan to all Sudanese people in every corner of Sudan.
Great. I just have one question. This is just a general question. I know a lady who's going to do some music for me for the project. What is some traditional music in the Sudan? Because they're going to try to kind of replicate the style.
Well, that's going to be a tough question for me to answer, because we do have different traditional dance in Sudan, because Sudan have, I mean, Southern Sudan itself, or Sudan generally should put it, have over 200 different tribes.
Okay.
And each tribe, they have their own way, you know, they perform.
Oh, okay.
They have their own custom and, you know, traditional dance. And I don't know, in Dinka, I don't know how I can describe it to you, but we do have some people from my tribe, because Dinka, they are the largest tribes in Southern Sudan. You know, when I would dance, I can't describe to you here on the camera, but maybe if you
or the sound of, is there like a name for the style of rhythm music?
It's usually a drum, you know.
Right.
We just play the drums, people sing, you know, usually that's how we do to sing the song. Song could be a freedom song or any kind of song, and people, you know, use the drums, two drums, I believe, and then the dance. I can't really describe it anyway, because I forget a lot of stuff myself too.
Right.
But I see it when we actually have certain occasions, Sudanese occasions, you know, we see people performing.
Okay. Do you have any Sudanese
Community?
yeah, in Boston?
We do have Sudanese community. The community actually based, they have office in Lynn, Mass, because Lynn is the place that a lot of Sudanese people live. It's in north of Boston from here, and I can get you in touch with the people.
Yeah,
you
that'd
know.
be good. I would love to come to like an event where you guys do traditional music and things like that.
I don't know when we're going to be celebrating.
Okay.
We think about celebrating May 16. May 16 is Independence Day for the SPLA, Sudan People Liberation Army. In Southern Sudan, the army defending Southern Sudan, and we celebrate that exactly on May 16. But this year, we didn't do it on time, so probably when we're celebrating that, I will in touch with the people so you can come to see how we dance and how we perform. We have many ways we perform.
Right. That was great.